Hello everyone, thank you for coming to Software's webinar today on cable planning and analysis using our upcoming version 9 of Train Tools Forestry. My name is Andy Moon, your host for today's webinar, and today we have here Dave Mills, our software engineer, who will be demonstrating the use of Train Tools Forestry. Okay, so before we get started, just standard housekeeping items. You are muted. Please feel free to ask as many questions as you would like and engage with us through the Q&A section of the GoToWebinar panel. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube page. All enrolled registrants will receive an email link to the recording. So today we'll be covering how the newest version of Train Tools Forestry will be used to explore areas for deflection, analyze payload clearance and line tensions, evaluate different types of equipment and logging configurations, and plot various carriage positions for a given midspan deflection, which would be the third point method. So with version 9 of Train Tools Forestry, we are working hard enough to see 3 big improvements that Dave will be covering today, which is the Explore mode, the automatic display of the selected feature in the profile, as well as the selection and modification of multiple deflection D-lines. And without further ado, I will now pass over the screen to Dave, who will start his demonstration of Train Tools Forestry, version 9.
Okay, good morning everybody, and afternoon for those of you a little further east and way down south. So here is a typical little piece of terrain, and we'd like to look at some possible cable analysis, cable yarding opportunities in this area. Let's start with something simple. As for version 7 and 8, you can create a draped feature which might represent a D-line, deflection line. So I'll just do that quickly here. Let's draw something from, say, this point here near the road, across this hill, across the valley. Now I'd like to see that as a profile, so I'll open up a profile window here. And let's show them both at the same time. There we are. Okay, so I've got a little piece of terrain on my screen, and as per all the versions of Roadent, it's a nice interactive way of looking at the ground cross-section. Now let's go into the cable analysis ribbon. This has changed a lot since previous versions. I'm going to add a cable yarding system to this deflection or this profile. Click on the new button here. Choose from one of my existing logging systems, and well, we'll just go to the end and see what happens. I'll put in a little tower at the tail. This is a grapple yarder. What kind of system should I look at? Well, let's just look at the simple third point deflection. This is no calculation at all. It's just basically going to draw a graphic on the screen. We'll come back to this dialog in a moment. Okay, and there it is. Now, as you can see, I've got no deflection in the bulk of this cross-section or this profile. Let's go back and edit it, see if we can make it a little better. Put in a tower height and maybe look at a different kind of calculation. So you've probably seen this dialog box before if you've used the software previously. If not, this is where you would have set up what kind of calculation you want the software to do. So this is a grapple yarder I've chosen here. Grapple yarder is a running skyline. So it makes sense to ask it to calculate how high it can lift a given load. And I don't want to go into too many details here. This hasn't changed since we created the cable analysis software some 20 years ago. but the concept is you can pick a type of calculation and it will do that for you. And let me just set that. This is a little glitch where it keeps resetting to 0. Now it'll stay at 10. There we go. Okay, so we're still going underground here. New in version 9, we've got this graphics display in the plan window and plan options, general tab, cable analysis. You can turn that on and off. And you can change the colors that you want to use. So red clearly is no go, green is go. How could I optimize this to fit on to put the tailhold in a nice location? Well, I can move the alignment around or the D-line around it. Oh, that looks pretty good. But here's a new feature that we've just added. So I'm going to leave this longer than necessary. Go into the cable analysis edit dialog box here. Click on AutoCalc tail station. It sets the number here, which will give you just clearance. So it's automatically figuring out where the tailhold should go to give you clearance for the full length. Now I'm going to show you the Explore option, and this is a way of creating a whole bunch of D-lines all at once. So let's just arbitrarily choose a, yeah, sure, I'll choose slack line for this one, and I'll calculate the fixed skyline given load. Okay, that's what I wanted anyway. So slack line is a fixed skyline. In this case, we've got, oh, we'll see. I'm pretty sure it's got a butt rigging setup, but we'll talk about setups later. Okay, we're going to go out to 200 meters. We're going to do 12 D-lines all at once in a radial pattern. Auto position, so it's going to use that feature that sets the tailhold automatically. And show area. Get a different cursor because I'm in enable explore mode in the ribbon there, and whenever I click, it runs out, in this case 12, I set 12 D-lines, and it figures out the area that they encompass, displays that for me, and I can try various locations until I think I'm happy with my situation. So how about we say here, I like this spot. Click on accept, and there are my 12 deflection lines. And each one of them is, it's done the calculation, it's figured out the position for the tail hold, and I can select one of those. There we go. Now I want to look at it. Well, here's another feature that's new. In the profile window, we've added this little checkbox to always show the current feature. Okay, so there it is. There's the one I just clicked on. How about this one over here? And there it is. Right, so let's show a few more features that we've got available for cable analysis. First of all, and again, this is not new, but in case you haven't seen this software before, in the profile window option, you can display sub-windows. For example, the tensions of the cables. There's a bunch of different things we can display here. There we go. Also, there's a cable data window which shows you tabular information. So let's populate that. Again, I can set it to always show the current feature. This is very handy. And I'll display the mainline tension. Oh, this is a skyline, right? So how about skyline head spar tension, mainline and haul back, and car clearance. Okay. Little table of numbers. And again, those numbers are referring to the current D-line. So all I have to do is change the selection here and boom, everything updates. And I can go through here and look at what's going on with all these various cable yarding locations. Of course, if I don't want all 12 of them, when I'm enabling my Explore mode, I can turn off quadrants. So there I've turned off half of it. And now you see it only goes to the right. Also, you can always delete these things afterwards. I mean, they're just features. So now I could go in there and let's select a couple of these and delete them. Of course, now my polygon's no longer up to date. I probably should get rid of that too while I'm at it. Let me look at my notes, make sure I'm telling you everything you need to know. One of the things that was a little bit annoying with the old software is that if you set up a bunch of D-lines, in this case I've got, 10 of them, you might want to change parameters for all 10, and it was quite onerous. It's now easy to do. All I need to do is select them all, and of course we can use select by name. So here are my D-line Explore features. There's the one that I created by hand. So they're all selected. And now I can go into the edit dialog box here and I can change. Of course, it's warning me that I've got multiple features selected. For example, I can change the yarder or the calculation. I can even auto recalc the tail location here. Click on OK, and everything is updated. And now I'm still in that situation where I can go around and click on a particular one and see it in my profile and data windows. Now let's take a look at the equipment and system setup. This is not too different from before. The user interface is a little bit different. The concept is we have logging systems, which are a combination of a piece of equipment and a cable configuration. So let's step back once and go and look at the equipment first. So equipment is a way of representing your yarder. Let's just add a new one, give it a name, and you're actually going to define the cable maximum tension or working tension, weight per length. It's important to calculate how much weight the cable adds to your system. So weight per length is necessary. The maximum length is in here for your reference only. It's not actually used in the calculations. And spar height. So once you've defined a new piece of equipment, you can then go into the logging systems dialog box and create a system from that equipment. So let's add a new one. Again, we'll just take the default name of new setup, but you could put any name in here you want. And now I can choose my equipment here and what kind of yarding setup I'm going to use, what kind of cables and so on. Running Skyline with grapple, and these things show up in a little picture too. That's new in the version 9 and version 8 software too. So what'll I choose? How about Skyline with butt rigging, haulback and mainline? Okay. Carriage weight. It's nice and light because it's just butt rigging. I could put in a bigger weight there if I wanted to. And now I've got a new setup. And of course, if I save as default, then that will be on my hard drive and it's usable by other new terrains. And if you open an existing terrain and you want to load up those new defaults, you can just click on the Load Defaults button here. So this is a little simpler and a little more, I think, easier to understand. Basically, every logging system is just a collection, is just a combination of a piece of equipment and a cable configuration, and you can change these at any time. And now, just like before, I can select one or two or n of these cables and modify it to use my new setup. It's very similar to the old setup, so it doesn't change anything when I click on Auto Calc here. Now we've still got the multi-plot for displaying multiple profiles at the same time. You can always add another profile window. So let me just do that. But now, of course, it doesn't make sense to have the options set up to show always use current feature, because they're just going to show the same thing all the time. And you can choose which feature you want to look at. Now, if I do that, my screen's getting kind of crowded here because I don't have a very big monitor. But let's just take a look at a multi-plot screen layout. Cables MP for multi-plot. And in this multi-plot setup, I did a couple of things before I saved it. First thing is I created a bunch of windows. So you can look in the, I think that's in setup here. Nope. View, sorry. These are all the windows that I created. So there's a bunch of profile windows. There are also a bunch of cable data windows and the plan and the multi-plot itself. For each of the multi-plot windows, you can move these things around. I laid it out into a nice format here. You want to have it set up to do auto scroll. And then after you've read in the screen layout and you're ready to print, you can adjust the scroll position. So I'll just do that now. So auto scroll when you save your screen layout, but adjust the scroll manually. I just use the shift arrow key, which is visible in the options here, little instructions. And I've got, what have I got in there? Let's just take a look. I've got Explore 9. So let's go through in order. I'll put Explore 0 in the first one. Second one. Explore 1. I don't have to do it from the multi-plot. I could do it from the profile window itself, but it's just a lot easier to double-click on the multi-plot, get the full options, get the options for the sub-view, and then get the profile options from the options button there. Just typing the character D to jump down to the D-line Explorer list. And there is number 2. And finally, this one. Okay, and let's just scroll those around a little bit. Yes, I want to scroll with the carriage, the arrow keys. There we go. That looks nice. And do the same thing here. Maybe I want to change the plan. Yeah. When it's set to auto, it moves with the main plan window. And when it's not set to auto, like I typed shift arrow or control arrow is rotate, I can move it around independently. Okay, so there's a lot to set up if you're going to make a nice multi-plot output, but you can get a long way there by doing it once and saving a screen layout. When you save your screen layout, you should have all your scroll settings to automatic just to make it work better when you start with a brand new design. Okay, so in summary then, we've created a ribbon for version 9 which has, oh, and here's a couple of things I didn't point out. There's some dynamic information being displayed here in the ribbon. Some of that would be similar to what's in the profile window and the cable data window, or even in the edit window here. What cable configuration we're using, etc. That sort of thing is displayed up here. We've got this new Explore mode, allows you to do multiple cables all at once and choose a position based on your area. Once you've selected a feature that has cable analysis associated with it, you can click on the edit button, and you can do that with multiple features or one at a time, whichever makes sense. And we've got the logging systems and equipment are available from these buttons here. And don't forget, you can save as default so that it's available for future terrains. And there's just a couple of little setup files that get saved. I might as well show you where those are. If you go into the setup ribbon, click on module setup and click on install, you are shown where the defaults and layouts folder is on the computer. And you can click on this explore button here and take a look at it. This is where your screen layouts are saved by default, and where the D-lines, let's just sort by, oh, I haven't saved it for a while. Let's sort by name. There it is. D-lines PRM. So if you wanted to move your settings from one computer to another, you could just copy that. Alternately, you could just open the terrain on another computer and do a save as default. That would work too. Any questions? I'm pretty much finished what I wanted to show you. Okay, thanks very much. There is a questions panel in the GoToWebinar interface that's on your computer. Oh, here we are. Visualize in 3D, good question. Yes, you can visualize in 3D. Let's just take a look at this plan window in 3D. There it is. Any other questions? Well, thank you all for your patience and taking a look at our brand new cable analysis for version 9. Some of these features are already in existence in version 8, but most of the features that I highlighted will be available in version 9 coming soon. And version 9 is available for beta testing if you wanted to try it out. Oh, here's another question. Can we export deflection? And the answer is pretty much no at this point. And I'm pretty sure we're going to do something about that. I think the most likely solution we're going to come up with is to export this window here as a to clipboard in a CSV format, so you could paste it into a spreadsheet. Of course, you can export the ground lines, the profiles themselves. They're just features and they can be exported in various ways. If you really just wanted to see in plan view where your deflection lines are, then yes, you can just file save as, all kinds of different formats, DWG, shape files, etc. But if you need to see the cable itself, the only way to get it out is to print the profile window. I guess you could also print the 3D window too. Oh, here's another question. I'll read the question out. We build grapple yarders. How could we gather data on our machine that would help improve models for customers? The only information that you need to run our software is the information in the equipment dialog box, which is the cable strengths and so on, and that can change, of course, as the drums get replaced and the cables get replaced. But you know, having that information available would be great. Feel free to drop us a line. We can discuss this later. I'm getting a question from one of our viewers. Can I insert a mid-tail post? I'm assuming that means multi-span, and at this point, no. You can kind of fudge it by doing 2 single spans back to back, but the software is designed for a single span only, no mid jacks or posts halfway between. The tail spar is broken into 2 pieces if you've got a skyline system. So there's the tail spar for the skyline and the tail spar for the hullback. Okay, well, I guess that's the end of our demonstration for today. Thank you all for giving us your time. And of course, if you want to spread this to other friends or colleagues, the YouTube video will be posted shortly and you'll get a link. Anything you'd like to add to that, Andy?
Well, thank you very much, Dave. That was great. And thank you very much to everyone who've come to our webinar today on cable planning and analysis. We just want to finish up this webinar to introduce you guys to our upcoming webinars on how to use Train Tools 101 Part 2 for those of you who joined Part 1 might be interested. And we have 2 webinars coming up in June, the preview of RoadEng version 9, as well as using RoadEng for corridor designs. So that's it. Hope everyone has enjoyed the show, and I guess we'll leave it at that and call it a day.
Thanks so much, Andy.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.